In the summer of 2024, I went back east for a few weeks to visit family and friends. As I always do, I got a temporary membership at Anytime Fitness in my hometown. The sort of unintended consequence of going to a public gym during these trips is that I get to make use of equipment that I don't have in my garage gym. And then I get to play the fun game of trying to figure out how I'm going to get my hands on something similar for the garage now that I've decided I can't live without it. Two of the movements I did a lot on this particular trip were machine preacher curls and machine leg extensions. In both cases, the machine element allowed me to do drop sets very efficiently. And as a result, before I had even gotten back on the road west, I was looking for a machine that would allow me to do both. Rep didn't make one, neither did Titan. I can't afford Rogue equipment, so I don't even know if they make one. But I do remember seeing these combination machines all over the place in the 90s and 2000s, usually gathering dust in the corner of somebody's basement. There had to be a modern equivalent. Eventually, I found this. On Amazon. There are almost no reviews. I had never heard of the company, but it was reasonably inexpensive and at least looked the part. So I took the chance and ordered one. When it arrived, I assembled it, and right away I could tell there were serious issues with it. During the assembly process, I noticed an oddly shaped third leg for the front of the machine that was supposed to mount right in the same area where the weight would rest at the bottom of the rep range. It didn't take a genius level intellect to realize that this leg would stop the weight from reaching the actual bottom of the rep range, so you'd really only be able to do 3/4 reps. So I did the logical thing here. I threw this piece in my scrap metal pile and bolted on a block-off plate. Problem solved, I told myself. The decision to do this would come back to haunt me. I'll get to that later. Once the bench was assembled, the first thing I tried was preacher curls. Before I'd even done the first rep, it was obvious that the handle was not designed for people with average length arms. The only way to adapt this, in order to get the full range of motion, is to not use the preacher pad as it's designed, but to rest my elbows up here on top. It's not ideal. Actually, it sucks. After getting used to the bench, on both the preacher curls and leg extensions, naturally I started increasing the weight quite a bit. A few months ago, I noticed that my plates weren't staying on the weight horn without a collar, as they used to. The 1-inch thin-walled tube used for this purpose had bent downward at a significant angle. That's annoying, but for now, I'll just bend it back, I told myself. In doing so, I ended up completely warping the entire arm mechanism with my bare hands. The main bench is built of heavier gauge steel, but the arm itself is very thin-walled and has the consistency of licorice. About a month and a half ago, I got on the bench to do some preacher curls. I noticed that the entire assembly was now unstable from side to side. I lifted it up, thinking that the bench must be resting on an extension cord or some sort of foreign object. But that wasn't the case. What had happened is that as I had been increasing the weight on the front end of the bench, the lack of the third leg in the center caused the entire thing to sort of tip forward as I was lifting, almost like doing an endo on a bike. This ended up bending the U-shaped leg assembly, which also appears to be constructed from some sort of soft cheese. So, like the weight horn, I grabbed a long persuader bar and just bent the legs back into place. This is the only issue that I've really fixed, and it's pretty simple. I just set some 45s on the back of the bench as a counterweight, and the back end doesn't lift anymore. Not ideal, but it's effective, and it's better than having to use that stupid third leg. The first time I did leg extensions, I instinctively reached down next to my hips to grab onto the handles that should be there, but there were none. I don't know why I was so surprised, as I was the one who built this thing, but regardless, I had nowhere to put my hands. I tried just grabbing the underside of the bench itself, but this isn't ideal, as it's hard to get a firm grip on it. The solution I've come up with temporarily is to grab an older pair of mountain bike handlebars with some hockey tape across the center to protect the metal, grab it under the bench, and brace upward as I'm lifting. It does the job for now, but it's a temporary solution at best. These bars aren't designed for this sort of force, and something's going to give eventually. And I really have had more than enough hospital visits for 2025. Lying prone on the bench and doing leg curls, the exact same issue presents itself. There's nothing to hold on to. And for this moment, it's also a pretty critical brace point. The only solution here is to sort of hook my fingers over this tiny little bar that I guess is there for the ease of moving the incline bench up or down. It's pretty awful. I don't know how or why this thing was designed without handles in either one of these locations, but I can't say I really understand why the designers did a lot of what they did with this bench. Cost savings, I would guess. I'm well beyond the return window for Amazon, and not only that, but even if I would have sent this back, well, nobody else really makes anything that does what this does. Definitely not anywhere close to this price point, at least. So, I'm committed. I have to make this thing work. The thing is, contrary to the negativity in this video, I really do like this bench. It's cheap, Chinese, poorly designed, and has given me nothing but problems, but that being said, I think it has the ability to do everything I need it to do really well. I've spent a lot of time just standing there staring at it, thinking of what needs to be changed, then measuring, testing if I can, and mocking ideas up in Microsoft Paint. It's going to require a fair bit of cutting, welding, and other fabrication, but I really do think this bench will be more or less perfect once I do this. Assuming that my welds hold, of course.